Hi everyone. I just wanted to let you know I finished off my assignment. Well, the proposal at least. Um, we're on reading week right now, so I have a whole week off and an opportunity to catch up on my readings. I think after this reading week, after this break, I have a midterm exam that I would have to do. And yes, feeling very stressed out. Very tired, very exhausted. I so needed this break because like last week, the last day of class before the weekend, I was so exhausted. It's like I don't know, a demon had gone into me and just beat the heck out of me on the inside and left me all bruised up on the inside. It's I get very, very, very exhausted and burnt out and very easily. I'm on accessibility services at my school because I have a disability, so that just makes it particularly hard for me to get certain tasks done on time. Um, just sent out my proposal to Professor John McLaughlin via email, and he was eager to receive it, so it's a little late, but I guess I have got some accommodations for my accessibility services, so that should kick in. It's really challenging, it's a challenging seminary, and they have a high standards, and I have to get really high grades, not just to pass, but also to be eligible for further stipends, for further funding, because my studies are actually funded and paid for by the university themselves. So I was eligible for funding, and in order for me to continue to be recipient of funding, I'd have to maintain a certain average and be a full-time student. So that's so it's going to be a bit of a challenge and lots of hard work, and it's keeping me busy. It's a full-time job. It's not easy being a grad student. This is nothing like my undergraduate studies. Undergrad, it wasn't all that hard. I breezed through it, but not this one. You cannot procrastinate on this one. You got all these books that have piled up, and look at this. Ugh. Such a mess. Such a mess here. Uh, uh, so here it is. And I'm just enjoying quiet time in my room right now. It's going to be a busy week. I'm going to have to hit the books starting tomorrow. And yeah, other than that, things are alright. I want to get back into gym. I haven't worked out in a long while. Ever since I quit smoking about, I don't know, May or June of this year, several months ago, I have been gaining weight exponentially. I have gained upwards to 30 pounds. That's 30 pounds. 30. And I've come down with such a bad case of depression as well. It's not just craving, man. When you quit smoking, I am telling you, really difficult. It's not just craving, my friend. It's not just craving. It's all hosts of problems that you run into, like a chemical disbalance that it creates, lack of dopamine in your brain when you abstain from nicotine, because nicotine is dopaminergic. It's sort of functions as an antidepressant. It has antidepressant qualities to it. So when you abstain from that, you're abstaining from what gives you like energy and exhilaration. Without nicotine in my body, been gaining weight, and despite what you're told, diet doesn't help, exercise doesn't help. Believe me, I could be running on the treadmill 24/7 and starving to death, and I'd still be gaining weight. I mean, this has to level off on its own, spontaneously, naturally. I would have to, well, get my homeostasis back in gear, get the, balance the chemicals or whatever, responsible for regulating body weight. And it's so discouraging because I work out a lot, and I would hate to go down to the gym and work hard for nothing, for no results whatsoever, because I like results. I mean, if you go down to the gym and you're not getting any results whatsoever, you lose, purpose. I mean, what's the point anymore? And to me, the gym is an integral part of my own culture, like my own way of life, and I'm just something very important is missing out of my life if I don't work out. It's really such a bummer. Let me tell you, it is such a bummer because I need to be working out, and it's very depressing, and it's when you quit smoking. Sure, you're healthier, but everything's not hunky dory and all that. It's very, very hard, and there's a lot of alterations in body chemistry, and it's certainly it's nothing like what you're told. Let's put it this way. Canada, it's a crazy country we're living in. Crazy, crazy country. They're about to legalize pot. Last this building that I'm living in is so full of potheads here. It's unbelievable. Almost every one of my neighbors is a pothead. But it's a certain demographic. This building gets a certain demographic. Like, there are so many escorts and prostitutes in this building, as well as, drug dealers and, gangsters and a lot of seedy characters. And it's this sort of a degenerate demographic that these buildings attract for some reason. It's it's not really not exactly a family-friendly area, There's a lot of sports cars speeding in your way, and a lot of these thugs walking around, And these are worse than the ordinary thugs, because these thugs actually got money, and a lot of them are armed to the teeth, and a lot of them have some connections. So, you don't want to rub shoulders with these guys. And this is not the sort of company I want to be in, And these aren't like low class buildings, right? Low class, low income buildings. These are ordinary middle class buildings. But for some reason, these newly built condos are attracting degenerates, a really, really bad demographic. And, well, luckily, moving to a building that is far better, that has respectable people, respectable demographics. It's mostly, what do you call it? Mostly people who are on pension, retired, you know, the retirement community, which I like, I prefer. They're nice and quiet, very nice, very courteous, you know, very respectable, and it's a sort of, company I'd like to be in. And I look forward to it. I don't want to be smelling pot everywhere I go. It's in the hallways, it's in the elevators, it's in the gym, it's in the locker rooms, it's in everywhere. It's you go out, and it's coming also through my apartment, through the vents, through my balcony. Everybody here is a pothead, and it's unbelievable. And the last thing this city needs is a legalization of pot, and gosh, I don't look forward to 2018. Yeah, we're moving towards scary times, and it's kind of unprecedented in the history of mankind. So much, freedoms that we're, taking for granted. The things that were regarded as, unacceptable or as forbidden has become like common practices. Yesterday's vices are today's customs. As Juvenal says in his satires. It's been said 2,000 years ago, and it can easily be said now. Yesterday's vices are today's customs. Yeah, this isn't the old days anymore. This is the brave new world. Kind of like 1984. We're all being watched. We all have these devices or these screens in our homes or on our persons. Even everywhere we go we are watched. Even right now, there's the camera right now. I'm filming my own thoughts and posting them online. What's the difference between that and what George Orwell describes in his novel 1984? Well, yeah, the book I've been talking about by John McLaughlin. I don't know if you can see it. So, what are they saying about ancient Israelite religion? So, yeah, what are they saying about ancient Israelite religion? John McLaughlin said. It's essentially he's arguing that ancient Israelites have started off as pagan, no different from their Canaanite and Amorite and Syrian contemporaries who worshipped Baals and Asherahs and Molochs and Dagons and Els and Ashtaroth and all these the Canaanite pantheon that they worshipped. That Israelites also worshipped. He makes some he takes note of the archaeological discoveries that have been made of certain ostraca that have been discovered, mentioning Yahweh and his Asherah. Yahweh and his female consort or counterpart, not sure. It's almost like a mother goddess, pretty much. In the way, like Queen of Heaven, she's described. But anyways, this book argues that the god El, that we have it in El Shaddai, and Yahweh, that we have, it says El, there's a, in 3:14 we have I am that I am, Echyech Asher Echyech, third person Yahweh, and 6:3 I think, I appear to them as El Shaddai, but I have not appeared to them as Yahweh, if you know that passage. I'm not sure, I'm paraphrasing it, but anyways, El and Yahweh were originally two distinct deities. El was this, I don't know, I think he was some kind of a storm god, equivalent to Zeus, or something like that. One of the fertility gods of the Canaanites. Well, the back of this book says, throughout their history, the Israelites lived in the midst of peoples who worshipped multiple gods and goddesses. What parallels existed between their neighbors' religions and their own, and how did they progress from polytheism to the monotheism for which they are known? What, if any, is the relationship between El, Baal, Asherah, and others, and the development of belief in the God of Israel? And what are they saying about ancient Israelite religion? John L. McLaughlin examines the current literature on the development of Israelite monotheism in relationship to the beliefs of other peoples in the ancient Middle East, and it makes extensive citations from Ugaritic literature, um, specifically the ones that are that describe like El battling against a sea monster named Yam, which has like parallels apparently in the Hebrew Bible, like Genesis chapter 1, God hovering over the waters of the deep, or the Red Sea crossing, and there's another one. Baal is described as rider on the clouds of heaven. He who rides on the clouds of heaven as a chariot, which is reminiscent the way Jehovah God is portrayed in the book of Psalms, and is coming upon the clouds of heaven, and the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 14, the Son of Man who comes on the clouds of heaven, and ultimately applied to Jesus Christ. Behold, he is coming on the clouds of heaven, as Revelation chapter 1 describes him, and every eye will see him, including those who have pierced him. And ultimately, according to my professor, Catholic professor, this has ultimate origins in the myths of Baal from Ugarit or whatever. Well, I don't think he's saying that it's religion of the Israelites is pagan as much as he is saying that the language and phraseology and literary conventions and imagery and metaphors were borrowed and appropriated by Israelite religion, and this is pretty much what he's saying. But the thought behind it is that the Israelites have gradually came to understanding of God as being an absolute monad. It is God being one, God being absolute, God being outside of time and space and transcendent. This came very gradually, and certainly in their earliest history, Israelites, at least according to him, where Israelite religion was more or less anthropomorphic. God, like finger of God, or God walking in the cool of day, or God passing by Moses as he was in the cleft of the rock, and Moses seeing his hind parts. It's kind of anthropomorphic, but that's how it sort of evolved. The concept monotheism began with polytheism, and then monolatry, and from monolatry to monotheism. But it says, "You shall have no other gods before me." God says not to have other gods before me. Does that suggest that there are other gods? That's how they're saying. Anyways, he's still a Christian. My professor, of course, is Catholic. So Catholics have gotten very, very liberal. So of course, I'm still a believer. Of course, I still believe in God and Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit, as does my professor. So yeah, it doesn't matter how it came about or processes that were involved in transmitting the Word of God to us. What matters is the very substance itself, how it teaches us one true living God, and how we ought to love that God with all our hearts, with all our minds, with all our souls, with all our strength. But anyways, I'm rambling on, and this is my update. See you all next time. Bye-bye.